catches the words but misses the meaning. There are two things, words and the meaning. One is the periphery, the other is the center. The periphery also belongs to you. It is part of the center. Periphery is part of the center. Periphery is the outer part of the center, but not different from the center. Can you create a periphery without a center? Can you create a periphery without a center? Or periphery, another word is used for periphery is circumference. Or can you create a center without a periphery? It all depends upon where you start your journey. When it comes to science, mathematics, it starts from the center to periphery. When it comes to spiritual life, you are at the periphery. From there, you have to move towards the center. Can you create a center without a periphery? This is when you begin the inward journey. They are not separate. They are one. The periphery is the center looked from without. Periphery is the center looked from without, when you look from outside. And if you change your periphery, the center will also be affected for two reasons. Firstly, the periphery is part of the center. Periphery is part of the center. And secondly, what will change the periphery but the center? What will change the periphery? The center will change the periphery. In geometry, if you change the center and using the same radius, you draw a circumference, it will be different. What will change the periphery? The center will change the periphery. My work, and a spiritual work for that matter, emphasizes on starting the work from center, because if you start changing the periphery, you will no longer have time to reach the center. If you start changing the periphery, you will not have the time to reach the center. That which can be done in a single moment may take lives, and this is what it is happening. You consider worldly life, which is a circumference or periphery, and a spiritual life as another periphery. You see the difference between the two. You differentiate. That which can be done in a single moment may take lives, because you have to travel from periphery to the center, backward, from the superficial to the depth, to the real. If you start work from the center, the periphery automatically changes. If you start working, you change the center. What does it mean? What is the center? And what is your sex center can be the center. And when a periphery is created around sex center, it is different. When it is created, circumference, periphery is created from the heart center, it is different. When it is created through the center of intellect, it is different. If you start changing the periphery, then backward from the superficial to the depth, if you start work from the center, the periphery automatically changes. When center is different, the periphery will follow it, because periphery cannot go away from you. For example, I will not tell you try to be non-violent at the periphery. It is an unnecessary exercise, wastage of time and effort. Be non-violent at the heart. Be compassionate, loving at the heart. And periphery will follow it. Periphery follows the center. It is the center that is used to create a periphery. If your approach is compassionate, then your friend circle, the outer world, will have a periphery which is guided by compassionate nature, your compassionate nature. If you are centered in the sex center, then your thinking and all these things are part of the periphery that will be affected by it. So this we can understand very easily when we look at the interests of the people. I will not tell you not to be non-violent and be compassionate, whereas you are practiced, you are taught that man must respect each other. You are trying to create a superficial periphery without center. You have not developed respect, center for respect. You have not discovered the center for respect within you. How can you practice respect on the periphery? No matter how much you try to impose upon you, whatever is within will surface. I will not tell you try to be non-violent. You have to respect the elders, at the periphery, it is a wasted and unnecessary exercise. Be non-violent, be respectful to your own ideas, to your body, to your emotions, to everything that you are, that you conceive yourself to be. Do you respect your taste buds? You depend on others. Do you respect your body parts, organs? No. Be non-violent within. We are all very violent to ourselves. Masochists. Be non-violent at the heart. Be compassionate and loving within. At the heart. And this will become your center. And from that center, whatever circumference is created, whatever periphery is created, it will be guided by compassion, and it will be non-violent. If you look at your life, you was trying to change all along the periphery without bringing about any transformation or any change in the position of the center. Center means your energy, where your energy is concentrated, from where your energy moves. And that becomes your center. When your energy begins to move from the heart center, compassion becomes a natural. It becomes your aura. Be non-violent at the heart. Be compassionate, loving at the heart, and the periphery will follow. You can forget it completely, because whatsoever happens at the periphery comes out, is the fragrance of your center. Whatsoever happens on the periphery is the light, is the fragrance of inner flowering. When the center of heart has blossomed, its beauty and fragrance will surround you and become as your periphery. Whatsoever happens on the periphery comes from the center as its fragrance, as its light. So if at the center you are compassionate, the periphery will follow the fragrance and the light of the center. And this compassion will be a totally different. This compassion that is manifesting through your periphery will be different, because periphery will not know that this is compassion. And this compassion will be totally different, because periphery will not know that this is compassion. The periphery will not feel elated, so ego will not develop, because it has become a natural process for you. There is nothing enforced upon you. When you enforced something from the periphery, it gives impetus to ego sense. When it is emanating from within as a natural process, periphery will not know It will not be elated that I am a compassionate being, I am a loving person. The periphery will be will be blissfully unaware. The compassion will follow like a shadow. When the inner, so when a flower has blossomed, beauty follows the flower as a shadow of it. So compassion, lovingness will follow you like a shadow. Is not that you have to remember that. Do you remember your shadow when the light is there? No. Shadow follows you. So compassion, your compassionate nature, your lovingness will follow like a shadow wherever you go, whatever you do. Your compassion, your lovingness will overflow through every act and every movement that you perform. What I mean by this? What I mean by this, if you want to change the tree, change the roots. Of course, leaves of the tree are also tree, and you can also try to change the leaves. If you change the leaves, the roots will be affected, but it is going to take a very long process, because the flow comes from the roots. It is the roots that nourish and nurture the tree, leaves, buds, everything comes as the roots nourish the tree. So the roots is your center. If you change your center from where you are operating, or your energy moves to another center, change will begin to happen. If you change the leaves, the roots will be affected by it, because a part of nourishment comes through the leaves. For instance, a flower like orchid, you water it through, it absorbs the water through its leaves, not through the roots. Because roots, orchids grow without soil, in a different kind of a background. It feeds on, its roots are needed to support that it can stand, but it drives the nourishment through the leaves. So we give a different kind of fertilizer through the leaves, a liquid fertilizer. But that takes a long time. That's why orchid takes a very long time to grow. If you change the leaves, the roots will be affected by it, and it is going to take a very long process, because the flow is from the very long process, because the flow is from roots to leaves. This is the general path. The flow is not from the leaves to roots, meaning from periphery to the center. The path of transformation is from center to the circumference. Change the center, periphery will change. This is the real path for transformation. You are following the reverse direction from that of the nature If you are changing the leaves, after many, many lives, you may affect the pattern, you may change the pattern of roots. But this is going to be unnecessarily a long process. You can do it immediately. If you change the pattern at the roots, reallocate your root to another space. The fertility of soil at different places differs. The fertility of the sex center is of a different nature. If the roots are there, periphery will be affected by it. And if the roots have shifted to the heart center, or your energy has moved from there, then the change will be of a different nature. So enough for now.